Hello, fucktards! I'm the lovable and adorable Froggy here to penetrate your innocent and virginal brains with what is my brilliant and amazing opinion, also known as fact. So, one of the most common questions I get is, Froggy, why are you such a fascist, racist prick? Well, to start off my return to Froggy Rantz, I'm going to answer that question and explain why I believe what I believe. I believe what I believe because of science and facts and statistics. Now I know, I've even quoted Mark Twain a time or two when he said there are lies, damn lies, and statistics, who I bet you didn't realize he attributed to Ben Disraeli, who is a British Prime Minister. See, I'm already teaching you shit you didn't know. But you ever notice that the only time you hear that is when someone provides a great statistics for an argument and has no comeback? Now that's not to say it isn't a valid point, but that also doesn't mean statistics are wrong. You always have to ask, and this goes for the academic studies as well, how did you get that statistic? How did you come to that conclusion? That's why I like statistics where they just count shit. That's why I prefer validated news stories, examples, and actual figures. You'll see what I mean as I go on. Okay, let's begin. Grab a pen and paper because I'm going to cover a whole hell of a lot of ground in this. And I'll either add annotations to the video that you can click on to see other videos going into more detail about the topics at hand, or I'll leave links in the description below. Alright, so let's start with the... Wait, what? Is this right? What? I'm starting my rant by commending the Huffington Post? The fucking Huffington Post got something right? Wow, okay, if you say so. The Huffington Post wrote an article about why Donald Trump is not a racist. What? Really? A liberal internet news outlet is saying Donald Trump is not a racist? Well, they're right. He isn't. They begin by defining racism. A racist is a person who believes a race is superior to another. So when it comes to the Trumpster, everyone uses two major points to say he's a racist. The first, his stance on banning Muslims. Well, a Muslim is someone who subscribes to the religion of Islam. Islam is a religion, not a race. It is a personal choice. You chose to be or not to be a Muslim. So whatever policy he chooses to take against or for Muslims is not about a race. It's about a set of particular beliefs. And we repeat, not race-based. The same for his stance on Mexicans. He's bitching about Mexicans. People from Mexico entering the country illegally. Illegally, which by definition means not legal, in case you didn't understand that. When you do something that's not legal, you are a criminal. How is this so hard to understand, people? How can you have a problem with me having a problem with someone whose first act in our country is violating a law? How is this a racism thing? How? Please explain that! But no, it's a racist thing because the majority of these criminals are Mexican. But even the Huffington Post explains again. It is a nationality, not a race. Even a black executive who is the director of the Eric Trump Foundation, Lynn Patton, created a YouTube video that defends Trump and says why he is not a racist, and that they have been an incredibly passionate family who has hired more women and minorities in executive roles than any company she has seen. It even brought a tear to my eye as she admitted her struggle with drugs and how the entire family stood behind her. Me, a selfish bastard, brought a tear to my fucking eye. Okay, alright. The point of all this is, don't try and pull that race card. I'm not a racist. You just have to look at my dating history to see that. You don't tell me what the race it is. I don't care. It feels all gushy in the inside on the same. It's the same on the inside. Don't color what the wrapping is. Redheads are kind of a little more fiery though. Wait, is that racist? Or is that just colorist? I don't know. But it's my rainbow of love. I can't help but spread the legs of my loving sex rainbow. Okay, so back to the facts. Don't get pissed off at me because I present statistics and figures that say one race commits more crimes or one religion promotes more violence more than another. Because if you do that, you invalidate any argument you had against white people oppressing other races in the past, or that men are more violent than women. The fact is, yes, white people participated in slavery. White people committed genocide like the Jewish Holocaust. And yes, men were extremely sexist before women's libs started to change things. So I'm not the racist for spitting out the historical figures. And I'm not the sexist. Okay, maybe that's a little debatable. But look, racism and sexism seems to be the default explanation for everything nowadays. Well, it isn't. There's a difference between correlation and causation. I don't have time to explain it all right here right now, but if you don't already know the concept, Google it. You're a fucking ignorant fuck. If sexism does exist, I'd be one of the first to bitch about sexism against men. Oh, Froggy, you make me laugh. Didn't you know that the white men are the Antichrist and are responsible for every act of evil committed in the history of the world? Oh, well, no. No, I don't know that. I'm not going to bring up the murderous acts of Mao Zedong, which led to 40 million deaths, the 8 million killed in the Congo in the early 20th century from disease, torture, and executions, or the Rwanda genocide leading to the deaths of million Tutsis. Oh, but Froggy, white people started slavery. Oh, no, fucker. White people didn't start slavery. In fact, the first legal slave owner in America was Anthony Johnson, a black dude who owned white slaves. Slavery has roots all the way back to Egypt. So no, white people didn't start slavery. But we sure as fuck ended it, at least in our own country anyway. So, from the discovery of the New World until the American Civil War, 15 million black slaves, and I say black slaves for a reason. More on that in a minute. 15 million black slaves were imported from Africa. But only 400,000 of those 15 million black slaves were sent to America. The rest were sent to South America. 400,000 slaves sent to America from Africa. 620,000 Americans died in the Civil War. Think about that for a moment. At the time of the Civil War, less than 5% of Southerners owned slaves. Throw Northerners into that number, and only 1.5% of Americans owned slaves at the time of the Civil War. Put that next to the 20 to 28% of freed blacks who owned slaves. Speaking of slaves, did you know that the word comes from Slav? Yeah, as in Slavics. Because the vast majority of slaves during the Middle Ages were pasty white dudes and dudettes. There were white slaves in America too, only they were called indentured servants. But the Froggy, these people were freed after 7 years, so they really weren't slaves. Well, that's true, but they were beaten worse than blacks because their owners only had them for 7 years. People who owned black slaves had them for lives. The white indentured servants were treated so badly that 50% of them died in America. It was estimated that 10,000 white kids were sold or kidnapped into slavery from Europe every year. But America wasn't the only country that took part in this activity. 30 million slaves were sent to the Middle East during this time. That's twice as many as sent to the Americas combined. But Froggy, where are all the black people in the Middle East then? Well, little known fact, the Muslims who bought the slaves, yeah, they castrated them, so no offspring there. Yeah, Muslims basically committed genocide through slavery. Maybe they didn't just outright shoot them in the head, but they stopped them from multiplying. Sounds like genocide to me. Oh, yeah. And did you know the Marines were founded in part to protect Americans from being captured and sold into slavery by Muslim pirates? It's a horrible tragedy and a blemish on America and the entire fucking world. Did you know that there are still 30 million slaves in Africa today? And half of those are children. You wearing something with cotton? Eating a chocolate bar? Fiddling on your new tablet or phone? Yep, all still produced by slave labor. You smoke pot in the UK? Guess what? Vietnamese dealers are using slave labor to grow your pot. Watching porn with a couple of hot chicks with hot accents speaking in a language you can't understand? Yup, probably sold into slavery at a young age. Driving around on tires made of rubber? Wearing a diamond engagement ring? Yup, all that stuff still utilizes slave labor in its industry. But Froggy, I don't buy my shit from Walmart, so I don't support slavery. Really? You buy anything from Kraft? Nestle's, Hershey's, or Mars? Wear the sexy lingerie from Victoria's Secrets? Wear clothes from Toys R Us, Forever 21, or Urban Outfitters? Government plucks kids out of school in Uzbekistan to put them to work in the fields for the cotton for their clothes. Starbucks? A couple years ago, they declared they were 99% free of unethically supplied beans. That means 1% of its coffee still uses slave labor. 1% of that coffee is delicious. So if you have a coffee a day from there, you support slavery at least 3 times a year. Yeah, you know you can still buy a child slave for $30 in some parts of the world. I mean, that's really a hell of a deal, right? There are parts of this world where things are so bad that their parents are selling their kids into slavery for $30. Think about that the next time you're bitching about how bad you have it here in the good old US of A. You have safe zones because your feelings get hurt by a fucking opinion different than your own. Meanwhile, there are kids being sold into slavery by their fucking parents. How do you think that affects their self-esteem? You fucking pussies. You sicken me. You're giving me an ulcer plantation with all your vile stupidity. But you don't see me rushing into a little closet on a campus so I can get a therapy dog and cry into the shoulder of a fat lesbian gender studies professor. I go to the bar with some buddies and bitch about your ignorance. Where was I? Alright, slavery. I have a solution for slavery. I know how to end it in 5 seconds across the world. Give all the slaves a gun. No shit, fucker. Give a slave a gun, he ain't a slave anymore, right? See that transition? Pretty badass transition, huh? Gun control. That's right, motherfucker. Let's give every motherfucker in this country a gun. Hey, why not? Works for fucking Switzerland. No shit. All men are issued a gun in Switzerland. And you know what? The gun crime rate is so low that stats are practically zero. Zero, motherfucker! Zero gun rate! And the government gives every adult male a gun. Now, I'm not saying to give a gun to everyone in America, just the men. I mean, hey, if we're going to look at the other countries like Denmark and Canada for their nationalized health care and say, see, they do it, why not us do the same thing? Then why not do it for the guns too? Gun ownership in study after study shows a decrease in crime. But Froggy, allowing people to open carry or concealed carry will make it like the Wild West again. Bullshit. Over 40 states already have concealed carry laws and 40 have open carry laws. And no Wild West. In fact, even the Wild Western wasn't as wild as you think. The last half of the 19th century only saw 12 successful bank robberies in the Old West. Cities like Deadwood and Tombstone really only saw about 4 or 5 deaths a year. There never was any high noon shootout like in the movies. Compare that to Washington, D.C. that saw violent crime go up when it banned handguns within the city. And all these mass shootings mostly take place in gun-free zones. It's true. Look it up. Do your own research. Why do I have to do all the heavy lifting? In 1927, some asshole killed 38 elementary students. For years, this is the largest mass killing in the history of the U.S. But this fucking asshole did it with a bomb he made himself. It was the blight on liberals who wanted gun control because they always had to say, the largest mass shooting was 18 or 23 or 29. Couldn't say mass killing then when Orlando happened and went over Bath's 38. The fucking left rejoiced because now they could say guns were responsible for the worst mass killing ever. And then a few short days later, Muslim terrorists drove a truck through a crowd killing 85 people. A fucking truck! No gun, a fucking truck! People are going to kill people! They're fucking nut jobs! Especially these Muslim fuckers, but we'll cover that shortly. Banning guns is unconstitutional. Period. End of story. Guns aren't here for you to hunt. They aren't a right so we can protect our home and our family. They are there to protect us from the government. They're here to protect us from the Clintons. They're there to protect us from the Trumps. They are there to protect us from when your dope-smoking friend who thinks democratic socialism is a good idea finally gets a Bernie clone into the office and doesn't realize that any kind of socialism will always eventually collapse into the full-blown communism. The Second Amendment is here to protect us from a tyrannical government. But Froggy, the government has tanks and grenade launchers. You think we should have those? Well, kinda, yeah. But that would take a whole other show. By the way, oddly enough, it's not actually illegal to own a tank or a howitzer in America. Well, Froggy, these people could never win against the military if they did try to take over. First of all, so what? You're not going to even try. Fuck you! Go hide in your safe space and let us Republicans protect your sorry ass. Second, if it's so easy for the military to subdue the citizens of a country, why are we having so much trouble in Iraq and Afghanistan? The U.S. Army is a badass motherfucker when it comes to totally obliterating foreign armies. Not so much when it comes to killing citizens. One more point here and we'll move on. If you don't like the tyranny argument, let me get personal here. Your boyfriend is at work. At least he says he's at work, but he's probably actually banging some hot redhead from the gym. It's 10 o'clock at night and some crackhead is at your door trying to get in. He has a fucking knife. He's hopped up on PCP. I know I just said he was a crackhead, but go with me here. Maybe the crack was laced with PCP. They do that, right? I don't fucking know. I'm a Cuba Libre man myself. Anyway, a cracked up PCP knife-wielding guy in a clown suit is breaking down your door. You run to the bedroom and reach for the phone. You see the drawer is open and your boyfriend's gun is in there. Pop quiz, hotshot. What do you do?
What do you do?
If you said call the police and stick to your anti-gun principles, guess what? You're fucking dead! Sorry! Thanks for playing, but you were just stabbed to death before the psychotic Joker wannabe rapes your dead body! Speaking of rape, let's talk about feminism. These third-wave feminists are so full of fucking shit. This is where I trigger you snowflake asshole pussy cunts. It's going to even piss you off more because my masculinity and self-confidence and arrogance is going to get you so wet that your tiny little neo-Nazi feminist brain starts to despise your own body for being turned on by such a perfect male specimen of awesomeness. Sorry, where was I? I turned myself on and my mind drifted off to Albania and that small furry woodland creature I found in the Hamptons. This 1 in 4 women are raped bullshit? It needs to die like the humans only use 10% of their brain shit. You think a myth like that has to be true because it's spouted off so much? Yeah, just look at that bullshit about the human brain and see. This statistic came from a report that studied 27 colleges and misrepresented the data with faulty and misleading questions and clumped together responses like unwelcome touch, sex while intoxicated, and general sexual misconduct. In truth, the Department of Education, which encompasses all of the U.S. colleges, has a completely different statistic. 91% of colleges reported absolutely no rapes during the same time. But when you use a smack on the ass, a stolen kiss, or a catcall as rape, then yeah, you get a number like 1 in 4. Feminists have even put forth that if a woman changes her mind afterwards, that too qualifies as rape. And let me address this "I got drunk and screwed a guy so it's rape" thing. Okay, it's one thing to be unconscious or barely able to stand. Yes, that's rape. But if you're drunk and doing something stupid, and the next morning realize you fucked a douchebag and are like, oops, that's not a rape. You get drunk and drive and splatter a motorcyclist all over South Padre Island Drive. You're guilty of manslaughter. If you get drunk and screw a guy because you've lowered your inhibitions, it's not rape. You got drunk and made a mistake. Odds are he was drunk too and you both fucked up. And he probably more regretful than you are. Men wake up next to a four-eyed Quasimodo looking sea donkey all the time. But we don't cry rape, we just bitch to our friends and admit we had our beer goggles on. But Froggy, men don't get raped, not like women do. No, you're absolutely 100% correct. In fact, you ready to shit that fucking brick? Ready to have your fucking mind blown? More men are raped in this country than women every year. Ah, Froggy, you're so full of shit. How can you say that? How can I say that? Well, because I read a report from the Department of Corrections. It states that an estimated 216,000 men were raped in prison in 2014. Compare that to all the 90,000 rapes reported outside the prison in the same year, and yeah, definitely. I could definitely say more men are raped every year more than women. That's not to say there isn't a problem out there of rape. There is. 80% of illegal immigrant women sneaking across the border are raped by the coyotes. By the smugglers, not the actual dogs. Come on, stupid. It's so accepted and known that it's going to happen that many women take birth control pills before making the journey. Which leads me to illegal immigration. You think we are racist because we are opposed to illegal immigration? First off, the word is illegal. Let's get that straight right now. Illegal immigration. We want to know if you're a good person to let into the country. Yes, there is a disproportionate number of violent crimes committed by immigrants. And yes, a majority of them are immigrants from south of the border. But just like Muslim immigrants, we have to consider not their race, but their culture. Did you know that the age of consent in Mexico is 12? Fucking 12 for the age of consent to have sex. In Syria and other Middle Eastern countries, child rape is common, and throwing people off roofs because they are gay is considered your moral duty. Women are stoned to death because they are raped and reported. These are all things that bother us about the culture these people are coming from. Could you blame us for not saying, maybe we should think about not letting these idiots in here? Froggy, how dare you call those refugees and hardworking people idiots? How dare you not call someone an idiot who thinks it's okay to kill someone who is gay, thinks sex with a 12-year-old is okay, or someone who stones a woman to death because she was raped? Oh, unless you meant idiot isn't a strong enough term. Okay, how about sick, sadistic, disgusting, motherfucking fuckhead, bastard, puto madre fucker? Look, I understand your compassion, I really do. But you don't invite a rapist into your home to spend the night. You don't invite the pedophile to take your 8-year-old daughter back and forth from school. You call me a racist, sexist, or a homophobe. But I'm the first person standing there telling that sick fucker that wants to rape you, thinks your 12-year-old daughter is hot, or wants to kill you because you're gay, that they can't come in. Me and my gun both. But Froggy, they didn't cross the border crossed them. First of all, Whoa. And second, did you know how many people were in Texas before Santa Ana invited the settlers to come in? 28,000. In all of Texas. There were more people in Temple, Texas in 2000 than there were in all of Texas back then. There was no one there. It was so fucking hot and dangerous and miserable. People died here from everything. Everything wanted you dead. But the Mexico border extended. Yeah, blah, 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 blah. You know whose borders were there before Mexico? Spain, France, and England. If we're going to give the land back to the people who had borders there first, then it wouldn't go to Mexico. It would go to Europe. And sure, the borders crossed them if they were here. If they were in Texas or California when the border moved, they became citizens. So the people who were in Texas or California or Arizona when it became a part of the U.S., they became citizens. They didn't have to cross the border to get here. They were already here. And you think Mexicans today are entitled to U.S. states because their great-great-great-grandfather lived in a country whose borders were larger 200 years ago? That really, truly, honestly makes sense to you? So if Texas ever seceded, then you're saying that someone in New Jersey would have claim on Texas territory? Have you lost your goddamn mind? I see that borders crossed us shit all the time on Facebook. I saw someone else on Facebook the other day. Some shit about,
oh, you Republicans are all about pro-life until it's born and it's black or Hispanic or a woman.
What the fuck? Are you fucking kidding me? So basically you see me hanging over the woman in stirrups with her feet over her head with a fucking Grim Reaper sickle thing, waiting for the baby to pop out, and if it's black, brown, or a chick, off with its head! Really? Well, fuck you! You are aware that one of the platforms against abortion is that it is a form of genocide against minorities, right? The majority of abortion clinics are placed in urban centers. In 2009, 289,000 blacks died in the U.S. That's just deaths overall. All total black deaths. 35% of all abortions in the U.S. were by black women, with about 1.2 million abortions performed. Roughly 420,000 black children were killed. Sorry, Snowflake. Were prevented from coming to term. I'm sorry, I just thought it would be more powerful to say 420,000 black kids were killed. It's estimated that since 1973, around 17 million black abortions have been performed. But no, you go right on ahead and keep having those abortions. Just don't try to cover me with bullshit and try to tell me that I'm racist against blacks when one of those pro-life arguments is that abortion is a genocide against black people. I guess you don't think I care about the lives of blacks, Hispanics, or women because I think you should support yourselves. I think you should stand on your own 2 feet. That I think paying single mothers government assistance is wrong because it promotes single-parent households in the black community, which in turn lowers income and wealth among those families. It also hampers and harms the child. Study after study shows that 2-parent households produce more balanced and mentally healthy children than single-parent households. Excuse me for taking an interest in stating the way that you can get out of poverty by having 2-parent household where both parents work and support their child. But no, because I want to take that free check from the government away from you, then I'm an evil person. Just in case I haven't said it recently, fuck you! I don't care about women's lives either, huh? Man, I'm just a fucking evil person, aren't I? I'm sexist too. No reputable economist believes in the wage gap anymore. This is another myth that must die. Please, please, please tell me you know this by now. This 76 cents for every dollar thing is a stat gathered by getting all salaries of all women across the board and comparing them with men's salaries across the board. But when you break it down and compare the time in the workforce, education, experience, and particular field of employment, the gap is reduced to 0. That figure doesn't take into account that women don't have as dangerous jobs as men. They tend to earn liberal arts degrees instead of science and business degrees. And they take time off for kids. These factors do not equate sexism. They equate equality and women making their own choices, and successfully, I might add. In fact, from ages 30 to 40, women have outwaged men in recent years. More women graduate with bachelor's and master's degrees than men now. Too bad it's mostly lesbian dance studies. Yeah, so don't blame me when you can't make a decent wage and no one is hiring you because you spent 4 years studying Stonewall and can name every lesbian actress who ever won a Tony Award. No wonder we have these idiots running around demanding we call Bruce Jenner a her. Even though he's obviously a dude, they can't get a real job, so they have to start a YouTube channel and try to make rent by getting enough subscribers.
But Froggy, she's brave for taking a stand for transgender rights.
Why is she fucking brave? No one gives a shit. It doesn't affect me personally, so I don't give a shit. You're the one forcing this down my throat, no pun intended. I don't care. But when you start changing and arguing with science, then I start having a problem.
Oh, Froggy. You're such a racist, sexist, genderist, phobic.
So yeah, I'm transphobic too now apparently because I look at science and say, nope, 2 genders, just 2, that's it. If you have a penis, you're a man, and a vagina, you're a woman. Really? There is a question on this? We have reached a point in the society where this is a thing? Because you think you are a woman, you're a woman? Really? No, dude, your penis says you're a dude. Someone wakes up one day and thinks they're a cat? It doesn't make them a cat.
Oh, come on, Froggy, that doesn't happen.
Oh, really? Nope. There's such a thing as trans species now. This fucking, I don't even have the words. She thinks she is a cat. A fucking cat. And her boyfriend thinks he's a cat too. This is a thing now, people. Slippery slope alert. Slippery slope. Are you saying, holy shit, she's a fucking psycho yet? Well, why are you drawing the line?
But Froggy, it's their body. If they want to cut off their schlong, then they have the right.
Okay, what about the transabled? Yep, that's a thing too. People who think they are supposed to be disabled, so they cut off their own limbs. Now, do you as a rational thinking person say, hey, it's your body, go ahead and cut off your arm? Or do you find this fucker some psychological help?
But Froggy, transitioning makes them happy.
Well, John Hopkins was the first to perform sex change operations. They did so because until they could find the reason people have that conflict in their brain, they thought it would be better to transition them, but no longer perform the surgery anymore because it is proven not to help the conflict in their brain. Their suicide rate actually goes up. It is something wrong in their brain that is misfiring and the brain isn't matching the actual gender. So there is a misalignment. It is an actual problem and we sympathize. We feel for them. We really do. It must be hell. But just because you think something doesn't fucking make it so, okay, people? So how is cutting off your schlong any less in need of help than someone wanting to cut off their foot? But you know what? Some dumb motherfucker wants to cut off their foot to feel whole. Well, you go right ahead, but I'm not paying you for your fucking disability. I pissed you off yet? Good. That means I'm getting through to that fucking brain of yours. I'm working on that cognitive dissonance that is keeping you from seeing reality for what it is. The truth. The real fucking world. Like all you fucking...
It's not really socialism, it's democratic socialism.
Idiots. You goddamn idiots. What the hell, people? Look, you're not tricking me by throwing your democratic in front of it. As a matter of fact, you're destroying your case. We are not, and never have been, a democracy. And for good reason. Democracy means majority rules, which means mob rules. Remember slavery, that you hate and despise so much? Yep, that can be voted back in. We have a constitutional republic, which means there is this paper with rules and protections and rights that prevent the majority from taking away the rights of the minority. God-given rights, by the way, because without the God bestowing these rights, it's just a bunch of rich senators and congressmen sitting at a table deciding what rights you have. But that's another video. The Constitution is there to protect your rights, protect the minority.
But Froggy, socialism works in other places like Denmark and Sweden.
Yeah, and they're all fucking collapsing. You want the healthcare system like Canada? I sure as fuck don't. Go watch this video from Steven Crowder who tried to get his friend's wrist checked out on a weekend. It takes 2 to 3 years to get a family doctor if you're lucky. Need a blood test? Forget about it! Unless, of course, you have $900 to pay for it in addition to the 59.6% you already pay in taxes. And free school? You think expenses are outrageous now? Wait until the government is flipping the bill. Why do you think tuition is so high? Because the government supplies all these methods of paying, like loans and grants. They know everyone can pay for it through these methods, so they increase costs. If they weren't there, then no one would be able to afford it, so they'd have to drop their costs. Ever seen a university president's salary? That's where the money is going. The administration. Oh, and safe zones. Besides, want free college? Full ride? Join the army and take the advantage of the GI Bill. Work for something, fucker! Look, those socialist countries are collapsing and falling. Venezuela, Greece, the UK got out of the EU because it's on the verge of economic collapse. Even Denmark and Sweden are collapsing.
But Froggy, Denmark is collapsing because of the influx of immigrants. It's gotten out of control.
Racist! You're a racist! You hate immigrants! You sorry sack of shit! You're racist! You're blaming immigrants for socialism collapsing! Socialism always collapses because of human nature. Corruption, laziness, and greed. It never has worked and never will. And no,
This time we'll do it right.
it's not a valid argument. You remember the definition of insanity, right? Socialism will always either collapse or fall into communism, and then collapse. Because in order to uphold and enforce socialist ideas, you need the gun. You need the power of the government to enforce it. And the government is corrupt. You bitch about the bailouts and the mishandling of Obamacare and how it needs fixed. You bitch about the unaccountability of $6.5 trillion that the Pentagon can't find. And you want those same people in charge of the banks, the supermarkets, your company? It won't work, asshole! When will you get it through your thick fucking skulls of yours? God, I could go on for hours about this, but this is way too long as it is. Look, compassion is all well and good. Then reality steps in and asks you to pay the fucking check. I bet you haven't heard most of what I've said. All you've heard is racist, sexist, bigot. I bet you haven't read these articles that have been exposed to this information. Or you've been brainwashed that it's homophobic, racist, sexist, fascist. Name your estrophobia. You don't hear this because of a left-leaning liberal bias in the media, which study after study has been proven to exist. It's so bad, they're not even denying it anymore. Yet you're going to slam Fox News, which, yes, fucks up and presents opinionated commentary, but so does CNN and MSNBC. You want to shut people up who have facts and opposing opinions. Did you know that academic freedom is now under attack? Some pinko commie cunt from Harvard is protesting race-based research because, in her own words, it may be true, but is racist and negative towards particular races and genders. She wants academic freedom to be replaced with academic justice. She doesn't want to be confronted by the truth. How dare someone contradict her worldview with evidence? If you agree with her, then you are what's wrong with this country. Not me, who is trying to present factual evidence, not platitudes and cliches and feel-good memes. Before you call me a racist and a sexist and a homophobe, look at my facts and my statistics and realize that it's not about race. It's about culture. It's not about sexism. It's about biology. It's not about homotransphobia. It's about psychology. It's about being smart with your money and investing in your 401k instead of thousands in tattoos. It's about making good decisions by getting a degree in the sciences rather than a degree in the history of lesbian basket weaving. It's about looking at your own life and the decisions you made that got you where you are, rather than looking at society or the white man and blaming them for keeping you down. It's a tough world out there. It's not fair. And whoever told you it was fair, they lied to you. Oh, and fuck you if you don't like the fact that I can't just spit out once in its little soundbite that you can retweet, retwerk, or whatever it is you fucking idiots do to get your information and opinions. Issues like this require sources, years and years of personal experience and actual evidence and understanding. It's not something you can just spout off in a 30-second news report and think you know everything you need to know about it. So, before you bitch and moan, why don't you actually read all the sources or click all the links we have provided before you try and retort them with some idiotic,
Yeah, well, you suck. Or hey, you're racist.
Well, there you have it. The world in a nutshell. Everything you need to know about everything you need to know. And you're welcome. You are now more educated than you were a few minutes ago. This is just a public service I offer after the plea bargain I got in Vegas last year. So if you want to keep being educated and learn why you are an idiot, subscribe and stay tuned. Hell, even if you just want to hear some funny shit, subscribe. Especially during this election cycle. We still haven't decided who we're voting for yet, so both parties are fair game. Alright, fucktards, until next time. Oh, and if you've listened to all this and you still think I'm wrong, fuck you!